I mentioned before that we have the digital innovation hubs, and I said that here the objective is that every corner of the union can benefit from the advantages that the new technologies bring. So that is the arrow that you see. And then the high impact deployments are use cases that we have come up with and that are dynamic and that we will adapt over time, where this technology will come to use as well. One of the paramount destinies of this being the public sector, as we said before. And here we come. So what are the famous technologies I've been referring to? So the program is axed along the capacity building. These are the yellow components that you see in the slide. So high performance computing. So these are these big computing, supercomputing machines, where in Europe we were lagging highly behind, and we are having a comeback, and we hope that this will continue, but this required coordinated and broad investment. So that's what we will do and are doing and will continue to do in high performance computing. Artificial intelligence probably doesn't need any introduction those days. 3 years ago, maybe not so many people spoke about it, but we hit a nerve here, and it's good. So then underlying everything else, cyber security, obviously making sure that whatever is deployed is can be trusted and works as it should, and cannot be subject to eavesdropping and the like, is something we need to pay attention to, and that we do by supporting capacities in the area of cybersecurity. And finally, was very clear at the time, and it is only more today, that our public sector, private sector doesn't have enough skilled workforce in these advanced areas, in the areas of cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and high-performance computing, and hence we have also dedicated actions on building up of skills. So those are the axes of the program. As you see, a capacity building element with a strong technological push, and then activities to foster the take-up and demonstrate and ensure that the benefits are taken up fast in the public and private sector. I leave this slide for a second just for you, in case the examples I gave were either too general or not clear enough on what you can find on each one of those components of the program. I'll not go over them in detail, but maybe some of this facilitates the understanding in large terms of what we do in each one of the components. You see at the end, bottom, so the deployments and the digital innovation hubs, which were the vertical arrows in the previous slide. Very good. With this, now become a little bit more specific on how we are delivering on the program. Formally, the program is structured along specific objectives. You will recognize the first four, so on the left-hand side, so here in yellow again. So is the four capacity building strengths: high performance computing, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and trust and advanced digital skills. So these specific objectives receive the name specific objectives as they appear as such in the regulation. So the regulation is the legal act that sets up the program. So you will often encounter, when you look at Digital Europe, the reference to specific objective. And there is then a final one. This is the deployment, which includes the vertical arrows that we saw before, so digital innovation hubs and the use of technologies. And you have on the right-hand side, and we think this is also important for you to get a picture and get an understanding on how we deliver on the program, the implementing bodies. And this, when we start getting to dissemination and exploitation, we think it's important, it's relevant, because it's not the Commission itself implementing the program alone, but we have joint undertakings. So Euro-HPC in this case, a body that is very similar to a joint undertaking, which is the ECCC. In long is the European Cybersecurity, Industrial Technology and Research Competence Center that you see under SO3. Then indeed the Commission implements parts of the program, not only our Director General, not only Connect, but we have other Director Generals also involved in implementing parts of the program. And then we have an executive agency, and you can see that under SO4, so under specific objective 4 on advanced skills, it's the Health and Digital Executive Agency. Finally, yes, combination of the bodies that I've mentioned are the ones delivering on the program. So this is, as far as we are concerned for the topic of today, relevant, because obviously when we talk about dissemination and exploitation, we have to consider all these specific objectives, and we have to consider that we have to deliver dissemination and exploitation also taking into account the particularities of the bodies. Just to give you an idea, and we don't have it here formally in slides, but on the budget, so Elizabeth mentioned that altogether it was 7.6 billion. And if my recollection is correct, 2.2 billion go to high-performance computing, 2 billion goes to artificial intelligence, 1.6 goes to cybersecurity, 0.6 billion, so 600 million goes to skills, and 1.2 goes in deployment. Like this, you have a little bit of an idea of the scale of each one of the specific objectives. More specificities and more particularities of the program. Maybe you're used to the terminology of instruments and types of actions if you are familiar with other programs of the Commission, but each program has their own, and here you have those for Digital Europe. I will not go in detail into the contribution agreements at the top right, and this is a quite specific mechanism that we have to finance organizations that are independent from the Commission, but it's rather specific. We are not using that much yet. Then in blue, joint procurement, procurement in general, so that takes two forms, either single entity procurement and joint procurement. Also a realm on its own, it's either the Commission procuring or it's the Commission together with other organizations, in this case we foresee with member states, procuring facilities. And then the grants, which is the largest part of the way the program is delivered, you see that we have the coordination and support actions. You may be familiar with this terminology from other programs, and it's important that you're attentive to that one, because the call we are discussing today will be implemented through a coordination and support action. And you see the funding rate of 100%. Rudy will come later on a little bit more in explaining this. But for the sake of dissemination exploitation, we think that it's also important that you have seen and are aware that there are other types of grants that are funding at different rates, as you see in the slide. Grants for procurement, I think it's good that you also understand. So the Commission gives a grant for a consortium to procure. That is interesting and important when it comes to building capacities. And then what are termed here as simple grants and support to financial support to third parties, and actions specifically for SMEs have the reason of being the standard grant in the program being the simple grant. So when you go through projects, you will most likely encounter a large majority that are simple grants. Good. That is terminology that can be useful, and that you have an understanding of these matters. We think it is useful. I will leave it here, and I'll invite Rudy to present the call itself and guide us through it. Please, Rudy.
Thank you, Enrique. Welcome also from my side. My name is Rudy Schnitzer. I'm here to present you the specific call for this dissemination and exploitation action. And Enrique explained you the program overall, and you will see you will need all this information in order to understand what we want from you in this activity. First, a few references. Where does it come from? You can find it in the work program 23-24, the financing decision in section 6.1. It says program support action. And following this work program, we opened the call for proposal, which is can be found in the funding and tenders portal of the European Commission, where you can find all other calls for proposals and some tenders also from many or almost all programs of the European Commission. And inside this call for proposals, you will find all the information you need. And most of the information you need, you will find dedicated in the call document, which is linked there. And there, with the information there, you will know what we are asking for. The formal terminology for the topic is linked here, but yeah, you will come back to it in case you find this topic in the funding and tenders portal. It will be obvious for you. In the call document itself, there will be two topics. You will only answer the one topic of those two is about dissemination exploitation. And it is this one which I'm going to explain you now. The topic, the objective is to maximize the impact of the Digital Euro program, and we want to take up the result of it. And the second objective is a conceptual and operational framework, and also we expect to have the delivery of a few number of practical actions. These two objectives is what why we opened the call, and now with this additional information on the topic, you will see a bit the scope and what you have to take into account. You have to take into account the different dimensions. First, overall for the program, what makes sense for the whole program. You have to take into account the different specific objectives, which were explained by Enrique, and how they link with each other. And you have to go down even more on topic and sometimes even project level. So, because inside the specific objectives, there are several areas, and all these dimensions have to be taken into account. Enrique explained it very well, the capacity building, SO1 to SO3, SO4, and also the use strands of the Digital Euro program. This is something you need to be aware. Then the different stakeholders, of course, the different specific objectives, but also the different topic have the different stakeholders. Then here we talk especially about projects or grants, in a sense. There's different stages of a project life cycle, and also the reporting obligation. So this is what to be aware of, the reporting obligation coming from our contracts, etc. And also the coordination within the European Union itself, and also taking into account the policy priorities and initiatives. But I will come back to that a bit later. So this action will consider means that can help delivering on the objective. and should also leverage on the already existing tools, so what we have already in the project or in the program for other activities or even other programs. So maybe there is something useful in there. The action will consider also innovative approaches to dissemination and exploitation, and how we improve the uptake of the results coming out of this program. As promised, the coordination within the European Union. This is, if you are aware of programs, it's quite familiar to you. It's between, of course, the Digital Europe program, but also other programs. So how they are linked. Within the Digital Europe program itself, of course, as you have seen the different specific objectives and complementarities of these specific objectives and topics. Then also to take into account the dimension between the Digital Europe program and EU member states, national and even regional programs, as well as the implementation bodies which are different for the Digital Europe program, meaning the European Commission itself, the HDEA executive agency, and the joint undertakings, or any similar bodies, joint undertaking, as was mentioned before, EuroHPC or the ECCC, which takes care of the cyber SO3 part. So what should be the outcome and deliverables? We want a conceptual and operational framework for dissemination and exploitation, which takes into account the dimension I've just explained. We also want a set of actions to be implemented by the different stakeholders, and a plan how this should be delivered with monitoring and evaluation metrics. The implementation of the relevant actions aiming at supporting and complementing individual project efforts. So this is what the projects already do. And also an analysis and of the possible means and tools to support delivery of the framework. We have in the Digital Europe program, in the model grant agreement, a reference to a Digital Europe program results platform, and there we are looking for possible means and functionalities, also in comparison to other results platform for the programs. The KPIs, how to the outcome and delivery should be measured, is about clarity of the conceptual and operational framework for dissemination exploitation. Then the feasibility for us to put this framework into practice. The feasibility for the stakeholders to buy into the framework. And then also, of course, to what degree the diversity of the program has been taken into account, what we mentioned before, instruments, stakeholders, specific objectives and implementation bodies. The number of actors actively involved in delivery of the framework, and also the number of activities from the framework delivered in the lifetime of the project. Which stakeholders are we targeting? We are targeting entities with an understanding and an expertise of dissemination exploitation, in particular from the perspective of funding bodies, so from the different bodies we have explained, but also, of course, entities which have experience in dissemination exploitation, especially in the field of information and communication technologies, and which are familiar with the program and also may be involved in key program activities already. The coordination and support action, I will now explain you a few implementation details, or a few details you need to be aware, and all those details, of course, are included in the call document, and especially you have to always to refer to the call document and the work program. Whatever is in there is what we are asking for. It's a coordination and support action. It's a 100% funding rate. Coordination and support action is explained here. It's also explained in the general annexes of the work program. It includes coordination between different actors, accompanying measures. These are all examples. I'll let you read them yourself. What normally we ask in such a type of action. The topic budget is 300,000 euros. And as you can see, the project budget is also 300,000 euros. So we expect a project or proposals for 300,000 euros with a duration of 24 months. For the timetable, the call is already open since the 11th of May, and the deadline for the submission is the 19th of September. We will do the evaluation in autumn this year, and we plan to have the information on the evaluation results already this year in December. Then the grant will be signed by June 2024. Of course, this can be much earlier. It depends on how fast the grant agreement preparation will be done. But at the latest in June, we expect this grant to be signed. Here, a few key elements I want to bring to you in order to make it clear. But again, all of it, of course, is listed in the call document. You know that in the European Commission, we always ask, or most of the time, we ask for electronic submission via the Funding and Tenders portal, which is a common portal for all European programs. We always want and need to remind you that you have to fill in all the information we ask in there. There are different parts integrated in the system. There are annexes to download to the part P, which has to be filled in, because if information is missing, admissibility is not cannot be assured. For the part P, which is the narrative part, there's of course a template and all you have to fill in, but we don't want you to make more than 50 pages for it. Any additional pages will not be taken into account by the evaluators. We have one mandatory annex for this call. It's the list of previous projects for the last 4 years. We need this in order to evaluate the operational capacity of the applicants. Who is eligible to apply? It is any public or private body or international organization of European interests, which have to be established in a EU member state or in an eligible non-EU country, meaning the EEA countries and associated countries to the program. For the moment, EEA, Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein, as well as Ukraine as associated country to the program. Other information on eligibility, the consortium composition, we decided that we didn't impose any consortium composition, which means that applicants can be alone, can apply alone, or with a consortium of several applicants where you have a coordinator. So there is no restrictions on that. Different type of participation. Normally, if you apply, you're a beneficiary, but our model grant agreement, our rules and the call document provide for all the means of participation in activity. It can be an affiliated entity, which is an entity which is linked to the beneficiary, works together with this beneficiary on certain tasks, and which is listed in the grant, but just does not sign it. We have associated partners, which can be associated to the consortium. They work, but they will not declare any costs and will not receive thus any funding. In this topic, we will not allow for any financial support to third parties, so this is not the way to participate. However, we can have subcontractors for a limited amount, in any case not more than 30%, in case some task needs to be subcontracted. And of course, there can be third parties which give in-kind contribution to the project. Very important for you, the award criteria, because that's how we are going to evaluate the topic. We have 3 sections: relevance, implementation, and impact. The first one on relevance, we will evaluate if the proposal has the alignment with the objectives and the activities as described in the call document. And we will also evaluate the contribution to long-term policy objectives, relevant policy and strategies, and synergies with activities at European and national level. So these are the 2 elements we will have a look for this award criteria. For the section on implementation, we will evaluate the maturity of the project. We will evaluate the soundness of the implementation plan and the efficient use of resources, as well as the capacities of the applicants or the consortium to carry out the work. And the last award criteria is the impact, the extent to which the project will achieve the expected outcomes, and deliverables referred to in the call for proposals, and also the extent to which the project will strengthen competitiveness and bring important benefit for society. So this, of course, all this is very well listed in the call document as well. But I stress it because you should always make your proposals that these things can be evaluated. Project monitoring, this will be handled then during grant agreement preparation, during the life cycle basically of any project. It will normally be monitor this project regularly and especially quite closely because, of course, we are interested in these deliverables and the actions coming out of it, and the reporting and payment arrangements are fixed in the grant agreement, but there's also some information in the call document already. A few information on the grant agreement because people ask questions and should be aware what it is and what it is in there and what are the obligations. So the grant agreement is the document you are going to sign in case proposal is retained and the grant agreement preparation is done successfully. It includes your rights, so the EU funding, that you can own the results and that you can do amendments to it, and your obligations, of course. It's about the implementation of the project, the reports you have to submit, and how you have to communicate. For you, this is even more important because one of the activities which we ask you to have a look is how this model grant agreement or the articles of it link with dissemination exploitation, the work we ask in this topic. Of course, also the budget or the grant which is available to you, or the maximum grant which can be paid, as well as other pre-financing and other information. Just for you to know, the model grant agreement, we have a quite corporate structure now, so in any program it's quite similar, but of course some specific details, especially in Annex 5, and please, many elements of dissemination and exploitation are in Annex 5 of this model grant agreement, and this is important for you to be aware of what are the rules, the contractual rules for dissemination and exploitation so far. Last, the eligible costs. What costs can be reimbursed in this grant? We have personnel costs, which can be employees, natural persons under a direct contract, or even seconded personnel. We also have SME owners, which can be reimbursed with a unit cost. There, as mentioned before, so some activities can be subcontracted. Those costs are eligible as well. Purchase costs, travel, equipment, and other goods and services are eligible. And other cost categories here, the first one is not an option in this grant, but the second one, internal invoice goods and services, is also a unit cost in some areas, and this can be eligible cost. As well as the indirect cost rate of 7%, which is calculated on all direct costs. We have, additional to the call document, a huge amount of guidance and support available to any applicants. We have the annotated grant agreement, which explains the grant agreement articles in more details. We have the online manual for the funding and tenders portal, the online manual, which explains everything you need to know in order to navigate and to understand what you can do in this participant portal. We have specific guidance on ethics, on restricted calls, or legal entity validations. Many templates in the funding and tenders portal which can and should be used. Of course, everything related to IT and how the system works has several help texts and lots of videos and information of how to navigate in this portal. And still, the last slide, a few links. The Digital Europe program website, very important, as you find all the information about the Digital Europe program, any other activity or the news, info days, well, the work programs, a very important site for you to check. And of course, the regulations, so the basis of everything we do here, and especially in your case for dissemination exploitation, also to be studied, as well as all the information in the funding and tenders portal, this call, all the opportunities, the tenders, which are linked to this program. Now,
okay.
I finished, and I give back to Elisabeth.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for the comprehensive presentation, Rudy. We identified in the slide one small error. It is in the slide on timetable. I would like to say that the deadline for submissions is not the 19th of September as previously indicated, but the 26th of September here corrected. So at least the mistake, the error in the slide, it was earlier than the real deadline and not later. So 26th of September 2023, 5 o'clock. Central European Time deadline for submissions. And with that, I suggest that we move to the point 4 of our agenda, and then I give the floor to Andik to guide us through some specific remarks we would like to make to you, being interested to this topic on dissemination and exploitation of results, before we go to the Q&A session. Anrik.
Thanks. Elizabeth, here we go. So very clearly, no matter what we say in that section, it goes without saying that what applies is always the text of the work program and the text of the call document. So we now bring to your attention a few things that we consider that is important in the dialogue with potential applicants that you are aware of. But once again, we don't want to bias you by any means. What refers and what applies, and on the basis of what your proposal will be evaluated, is what is in the work program and what is in the call document. So with this, we just bring to your attention the following. The action that we are after is, you have to understand, this is to support the Commission. So it's a type of action, it's the coordination and support action, and as Rudy presented, and strictly speaking, it reads that the action is to support EU policies. So here in this case is the policies of the Commission on the dissemination and exploitation of the Digital Europe program. So what does this mean is that the Commission has put already some elements in place. We are working ourselves on dissemination and exploitation activities, but we would like to receive additional ideas, additional input, suggestions through this action. But it also means that this action will have to be ready to work and collaborate closely with the Commission. So we have to act as a team. We don't want an action that operates in isolation and that delivers something at the end of the project that is disconnected to what is going on in the Commission and what we do. Second point, the focus is on dissemination and exploitation, not on communication. We do not preclude that the proposers consider the continuum between communication, dissemination, and exploitation. And here, in bold lines, communication, we consider this to be actions for the generalists, for the general public, while dissemination is for a specialized audience and exploitation is for those that want to use and effectively deploy the results. Once more, nothing in principle, again, when we get close between communication and dissemination to rule out communication, but certainly this is not an action to do a promotion campaign to the generalist public about Digital Europe. Nevertheless, if you would consider the generalist public as a stakeholder, which we do, there might be some activities to do for them. Third point, Digital Europe is a deployment program. So that we stressed at the beginning, it's capacity building, is the use. So each program that the Commission puts in place has its legitimacy and it doesn't overlap with the others. And in this particular case, it's about rolling out technologies, making sure that they are used, making sure that they are available to the society and to the economy. So also to speak very clearly, because we know some of the constituency with which us as DG, so DG Connect work often with, it's the Horizon Europe constituency. We have many projects in the DG. We also have other programs like CEF, like media that are monitored and operated from DG Connect. But just to be very clear, Digital has its Digital Europe, short name Digital, has its raison d'être, its rationale of being a deployment program. And this should be very clear because we think that the activities that are to be done on dissemination and exploitation for a deployment program are different from those of other programs. Mentioned at the beginning when we saw the types of actions, the program covers grants and procurement. The action is supported via grants, so this coordination and support action is a grant, but we nevertheless would want, as we said at the beginning, that the proposal considers the program as a whole, and this means grants and procurements, and it's actually this holistic view of the program mentioned, obviously, clearly in the call text as well. We have several implementation bodies. You remember the reference to the JU, so joint undertakings, the reference to the executive agency HADEA, so Health and Digital Executive Agency, and obviously the Commission itself, which it's different director generals that deliver actions from the program. So this is a particular situation. I know that it may sound very, very specific, but you will understand that it constrains or it puts a frame on the type of activities, and something that we should bear in mind when developing a dissemination and exploitation strategy. We're looking forward here to ways to go about it. But once more, very clearly, it is mentioned on the target audience, as Rudy presented. We have to look at dissemination and exploitation from the perspective of a funding body, no matter who is implementing the program. So the optic is a funding body that wants to do dissemination and exploitation of the program and its results. Last point on this slide, we mentioned before already the strategic autonomy was at the second slide, where we spoke about technology sovereignty. This we've seen over the time that the program is in place, that has become and has received even more traction. So security as well, it's related to strategic autonomy, but it's not necessarily the same. So security is to make sure that the things that should not be disclosed are not disclosed. It has to do with confidentiality. It has to do as well, there's another reading of security, which is to make sure that whatever is developed in Europe and is made in Europe is for the benefit of Europe, and if it should not go somewhere else, then we have to do something about it. So there are mechanisms in Digital Europe to go in that direction, and I'll mention some in the coming slides. But we think it is important that you keep this in mind. This is not a program open to the world and with the broader and the more the better, not necessarily. It may be in some cases, but in others there are some restrictions to bear in mind. In the coming slides, we give you some suggested sources. Clearly, they are non-exhaustive. We don't want to preclude you going through these documents and deriving your conclusions, but at least we think those are important that you are aware of. On the regulation, so that is the legal act that sets up the program, the Digital Europe program. You have Article 29 that refers to dissemination. You have 3 articles that speak about restrictions on participation, 12.5, 12.6, and on strategic autonomy 18.4, while the other 2 refer to security, so from the security angle. We think it's important for the last point that we saw in the previous slide on security and strategic autonomy that you are aware of those and maybe derive consequences when proposing ideas for dissemination and exploitation. Then we have the model grant agreement. So the model grant agreement is a reference document that is instantiated in each grant. So that is the document that is signed between the consortia and the Commission. It is model because it is generic for the program, and not only this, we've done an effort in this multi-annual financial framework in the Commission to try to unify the grant agreements for grants across the program. So that's the concept of model grant agreement, but there is indeed a general model grant agreement. There is one that has been trimmed for digital, and that is the one that we use for signing grants in the Digital Europe program. So this model grant agreement, as I said, has common parts that are common to different programs in the Commission. So there you will find Articles 16, 17, and 18 that refer to dissemination, refer to exploitation, refer to acknowledging the funding of the Commission. But then you have in the Annex 5 that is digital specific. So you go and look for the model grant agreement for digital, which is the one that is the underlying link on this slide. We'll bring you there. And there is an Annex 5. And in this Annex 5, you find more details and a different casuistic depending on the restrictions of participation in the program, for dissemination of results, for the exploitation conditions, for transfer and licensing of the results. And you will find there as well, as Rudy mentioned, and it's in the call text, the coin term of the Digital Europe results platform. 3 last hints. Go please through call documents in general. I did not single out here anyone in particular because in these 2 elements they differ depending on which topic it is, but there's sections there on milestones and deliverables that, for example, require for, in this case, every project to provide a deliverable in the first 6 months with dissemination and exploitation plans. But then there are specific conditions that are indeed particular to the different topics that I think it's important that you also consult and see examples, because they put some limitations on, sometimes some limitations on the dissemination, exploitation of results and the use of results. One of the things that we've done at the Commission is to prepare already the periodic report template. So that is when there is a check, let's call it like this, at the middle of the project and at the end, we invite the consortia, we ask the consortia to fill in this periodic report, and therein you will also find what we plan to ask the consortia on dissemination, exploitation, the progress that have made, any deviation from their plan. So we think that this is important that you're aware, and because obviously the projects are bound by this, and here any ideas, suggestions on how we could facilitate that the projects feel this properly and take this seriously and do this well and achieve the results is something we are obviously interested. Last point from my side. The funding and tender opportunities portal, where you find the description of the topic, where you have all these documents that we have referred. We provide you here direct pointers to them, but all this public information is available in the funding and tenders portal. There's also a section that I hint in here, so the projects and results section, where you will see things happening in the coming months when it concerns digital. We are working in bringing this up to speed and making it better for digital. But yeah, maybe interesting to have a look, see maybe for other programs we would like to do more in that direction, and this is one of the areas where we would, as the call says, we would welcome ideas on how to enhance these facilities that we have, and the tools and mechanisms to facilitate dissemination and exploitation. I hope this was useful. Once more, it's the work program and call document. These were just some points that we wanted to share with you, just to make sure that you understand some of the particularities of the program, some of the particularities of this specific call, and some of the particularities of the action that we are after and that we are looking forward to receive proposals on.
Okay, thank you very much, Enrique. And we are at the end of our present. I mean, we present to you everything we had to present to you. I hope you receive useful and comprehensive information. At least that it was our aim. We gave you a lot of links, a lot of hints where you pay more attention. And now with this, we arrive to the last point of our agenda, then it is a dedicated space for your questions and our answers. So questions from you and answers from us. And I would like to ask you, if you wish, to take the floor, to raise your hand, or you could ask the floor through the chat. Voilà, the floor is open. If there are questions from you, we will be happy to reply. So far, at least, I see no request for the floor. So I prefer to assume that it was very clear, very comprehensive. But if there is anything we could say more, anything we could clarify, or any additional information, this is an opportunity in this info session for this topic. Yes, please. I see. Wait, let me see. I see one hand, but I cannot see the name at this moment. All right, Christine Baker. Yes, please.
Yes, it was me. I have a question about the date of the project, of the open call start. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
We hear you very well.
It was the 11th of May.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, but the information I have is that the open call is starting at the 1st of August. What is meant by the 11th of May?
No, the call
Which
open.
start do you mean?
No, the call open on the 11th of May.
Yes.
It may be this information you have maybe is for another call of Digital Europe, but for this specific topic, the call open 11th of May. It is that means already the call is open, available, public, and the deadline for submission is the 26th of September of this year at 5 o'clock.
Okay, then I will check up my information. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else?
She raises her hand again.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question, if I may just ask.
Yes, Miriam, please.
Thank you. So for me, the call is a little bit unspecific. It's hard for me to imagine what exactly you foresee as a result. So what would be your optimal goal to achieve with that project? Would you want a unified communication and dissemination strategy coordinated with all actors that is then serving as a guideline for all projects in the different frameworks? Is that correct?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I didn't hear everything very well. But
sorry.
you ask us what will be an optimum result out of such a call.
Yeah.
We are looking, if I need to give you one line, we give you for a strategy for dissemination and exploitation for Digital Euro program. It's a new program. We do not have such a strategy, or okay, there are ideas, but we thought it will be good to have an open call also to receive support in this area from a consortium in which will reflect with all of the information we give you, with the specificities of this new program, and come out with a possible strategy for dissemination and exploitation. So let's say, since it is an open call and we describe in the call what we are looking for, but if I need to say it with one sentence, is this.
Okay, thank you.
And if we wanted something, just to go a bit further, Miriam, if we wanted something very specific, if we wanted, if we have a specific target in any way, we will not have an open call. This is an open call, and anything we need to say, it is public. So I don't know what Enrique's. So that is what I have said. I don't know if any of my colleagues want to add anything to what we said already. So here we put you again what we have in the public domain, what is we are looking for. And we also went through the text. We went also at the end through some specific parts just to draw your attention, since there is a lot of things said, since the program is new. We were trying to be as comprehensive as possible and also to make you focus on one or two of the other aspects of this program.
Okay.
That's, voilà. And of course, the proposals we will receive, we will be evaluated by independent experts.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Is it anything related to any aspect of our presentation? Funding rate, anything we presented? I think the fact that we use for this topic coordination and support action with 100% funding rate is a type of instrument that exists in many programs for many, many years. It's not something new, and it is tailor-made for this type of topics. And it is a tested instrument, it's a good instrument, so, and known to the different stakeholders. So I have the impression, and correct, speaking to my colleagues, we gave a lot of links through the presentation, which presentation it will be available to all those they registered. And of course, all those they gave the consent of for us to communicate with them, to make available their name to other participants. So, and they are many, by the way. And for your information, we had initially up to 100 people interested in the register. Most of them, they gave consent for make available their name to other interested participants, and therefore you could exchange information. And today we are here around 50 following this info day. What is a classical percentage of between those they are interested on an event and those then they actually take the time to follow it beginning to end. Okay, I do not see anybody else.
There is a,
There is? Yes?
there is a question from
Okay,
the
correct.
suitor. How many projects will be funded?
How many projects will be funded? I think we will finance one project, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yep. Okay. So we have a budget of 300,000, correct, Rudy and Pierre, and we will finance one project. Logical, no?
Yes, correct.
And I hope you agree that makes quite a lot of sense. This is a budget tailor-made for such a project. And we would like to, as also mentioned before, it is a project which will support the Commission efforts in this area, and that means there will be quite a lot of interactions between the consortium and the Commission, and we were very much looking forward to a good consortium to work in this area. The interest is that is the first time we call for a strategy for dissemination and exploitation for a new program. So in some ways, is of those cases where new groups, new communities could come together, new players. And in this regard, we believe that is important, and this is a completely open call. And for which we use the instruments I mentioned, the instrument I mentioned before. Okay. I guess now I don't see anything else.
Yeah, there is a
There is a question. Oh, yes,
from
okay.
Sarah and Sue.
Yes, please. Chiara, or I don't know, the name, I don't know how.
Hara.
Ah, Hara. Ah,
Yes.
I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a Greek name.
Yes, okay. I'm Greek as well. Okay.
Okay, yes. So thank you for this presentation. It was interesting. I would just like, I had an idea and just wanted to ask you about it. We had here in the Hellenic Public Employment Service, we have adopted the European Standard Classification, the ESCO tool. We had an easy project. It was an easy call. And we had the ambition then to move towards let's say create a national classification tool. The the ESCO tool that would become the national classification tool, because we had some old systems, but from December 21 we do use the ESCO tool here in the Greek PES, and it's the only, if I'm not wrong, the only organization in Greece that uses the ESCO tool as the main system, the main classification. So I was wondering if we could create a national consortium to promote the ESCO tool as a national classification tool. I don't know if there is the will from other bodies. We had communicated in 2021, but I don't think there is any other body in Greece that uses the ESCO tool. For example, the statistical authority. So would this be acceptable to have a national consortium to promote based on a specific work plan, to promote the ESCO tool as the national classification tool, if there is the will, if there is the relevant decision, and so on.
Okay. There are a couple of things I would like to say. The first thing is, there is no way for us to say if an idea is good or bad on anything related to an open call. That is
I mean,
no way.
the concept.
No. I understand. But even for the concept, we cannot, we are in an information day. We do this way, that, and we put it everywhere. We have this info day to provide the same information and the same treatment to everybody. So, in general, there is no way we can say this is a good or a bad idea. So that it could be the best, it could be the worst. You will hear nothing from us. That is point one. Point two. We are not aware what is happening to each member state. Now, of course, during the time you were speaking, we checked through the internet and we understood what you mean. But that is to understand better your question, to say, therefore, that we do not know what is happening in each member state. And in some ways, is not, please don't take it badly, but it's not relevant for this call, because Digital Europe is a European program. Okay, so it is a European program, and we call for a strategy for dissemination and exploitation of results coming out of a European program. And it is a new program, so it will be a contribution to the first dissemination and exploitation strategy for a new European program. So this is the context. So with this, in an ideal world, we look for, of course, a European consortium. This is what we are looking for. So that's it.
That's why
but we cannot go to give any we have no opinion about the idea. We are not aware. And I stress, as part of my reply, that this is a European program, is a new program, has the X specific objectives we gave. We ask a proposal to address them all, address the specificities of the program. This is the only thing we can say. We cannot say anything.
That's why I asked you for, because this is a European tool, the ESCO tool, but there are some lessons learned from the adoption that could be useful and exploitable in the country, at least. That's
Yes,
why.
Okay. No, but Hara, what we can say to you is, as I said in the beginning, the names of around 100 people almost, and they were interested to this info day, and a big percentage of them gave the consent to communicate their data to other participants. It is for you a very good database of potential participants and collaborators to test your ideas. That's what we can say, and this is the contribution you could have from us.
Okay, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Okay. Anybody else? I do not see any other question, and I do not see anybody else asking for the floor.
If I may,
Yes, please, you can. And tell me only your name.
It's Lorenzo Barabani from Meta Group.
Okay, please, Lorenzo.
At a certain point of your presentation, if I remember correctly, you said that your program is a deployment program, differently from other programs. So can you better explain what this means, or what this difference, how this difference should affect the proposals you expect to receive? So practically speaking, what are the different elements that we should consider when we apply to this call, and when we have to take into account the strategy for your program differently from other programs?
Okay, Lorenzo. I will give the floor to my colleagues to complement my reply. But the first thing I want to say is, we had even a debate between ourselves when we decided, out of the open call, to bring your attention specifically to some of the issues that they are already part of the call. And one of them is that Digital Europe is a deployment program. I explained one of the reasons why we did underline it, something that it is known. It's not something additional to the call, but we thought it's important to underline. You may know Horizon Europe, correct?
Yeah.
So there was, all right, the name Horizon Europe and Digital Europe are close, correct? And on one hand, we have a program that started back on the 80s. And on the other hand, we have a program that just started. The two programs have a name that it is close. They are very different. One is very well known and the other not. One of the reasons is to say this is not a research and innovation program, it's a deployment program. So we want to underline the specificity of this program and the fact that it was decided from the European Union to have a new program, even if there were many other programs, to fill a gap. And the gap it was, we needed a program really focused on deployment of technologies. And that is what it is, Digital Europe. And being new, we think that is always relevant to underline its specificity. Maybe we will not do it in the next MFF in 5 years from now, but we do it less, 4 years from now, but we do it now. So I will now also, maybe, I don't know if one of my colleagues want to add something on this. Do you want something to add, anybody? But that is, there is nothing very specific. I guess, Lorenzo, if today we have the info day of Horizon Europe, just to refer to that, someone will have started saying, ladies and gentlemen, you know this program is there for decades and it is a research and innovation program. In the case of Digital Europe, we say, ladies and gentlemen, be mindful, it's a new program, started barely 3 years ago, and it is a deployment program. And in the, I think in this, we started the conversation, we had a very nice slide with the focus of the program. Wait, I'm trying to find out the name of the slide. Program overview, in which we had the key technologies and we explained the structure of the program. So I think Enric tries to find it for you. And the next one is this one, you see?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, okay, Lorenzo, look into it. If you see on the left, building essential digital capacities. You look to in front, on the beginning of the slide, accelerating the best use of digital technologies. What it is? A deployment program. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing more than this. Welcome. Good.
If I
Yes,
may.
please. Of course, with pleasure. Bienvenue.
Merci beaucoup. I have a question regarding this open call, because I understand it's a deployment program. I understand that it's a new one, but I heard that you also want to build a network of national contact points. So do you think that this call could be linked with you as Commission and also the network of? I think that NCPs are doing a kind of dissemination, information and deployment as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was smiling for 2 reasons. First of all, the first is that we are the unit dealing with both. So, okay, this is a good question for us. The second is the following. Okay, as you said, we have an open call to build the network of national contact points for Digital Europe. And we ask for this now. We didn't ask at the beginning of the program. Again, I'll go back. It's a new program. We waited to see if there is a real need for a dedicated network of national contact points, and we thought it was the case. We had this feedback from the different stakeholders in our program committee, and this is why we call for an action to help the work of national contact points. So it's a bit different, the two topics. Huh? In the case of national contact points, we ask PERM rep and missions, depending if they are for member states or associate countries, to nominate a national contact point for Digital Europe. And then, in reality, this network of national contact points, or a group of it, of all of it, has to apply for like a support action we have to help them get organized since they are new. This is the action for national contact points. Here we have a completely different action. We ask for a consortium, which we do not have any idea who will be in, to come and work on proposing a strategy for the dissemination and exploitation of results of all programs. Now, when they will be in place, this strategy, there will be many actors, and they will play a role disseminating, communicating the results of the program. And amongst those, of course, an important group are the national contact points. Am I clear?
Yes. Crystal
Yes?
clear. Yes, crystal clear for me.
Okay.
But you said that they will work together afterwards.
It's not like, I mean,
interaction.
Let's say you have a consortium here, which I don't know what it is. And then on the other side, you have the network of national contact points. I mean, I have no idea what it will be the proposal we will receive for dissemination exploitation of results. It could be that there is a kind of, in this consortium, in doing this work, we eventually could consult with different stakeholders, amongst which could be even the national contact points. It's not a must, we do not say anything. I mean, the same like other stakeholders. If you tell me, in general and independent of the topics we have in the work program, in the call for proposals this time, independent of the topics, is there any link between dissemination, exploitation and national contact points? Yes, there is a link. Likewise, there is a link between dissemination and exploitation and commission activities, between well, I stop here. I start to bring together the program committee, but I think it's not pertinent at this moment. So in general, yes, and especially when there will be a dissemination and exploitation strategy, some of the actors to take forward the results of this, it could be, will be the national contact point. But if you come to the specific topics we have in the work program, there is no overlap. Huh? In one case, we call for a topic for the network of national contact points, and these national contact points are nominated by member states and associate states. And this topic for national contact points is to help them get organized, if I say in 2 words, when in the case of dissemination and exploitation topic, as we said, we call for a strategy for all of the program of the best strategy for dissemination and exploitation of results of Digital Europe. It's not the same.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. Anybody else? No? I think as far as I can see, as far as we can see here, we have nobody else wishing to take the floor. We are a little, we passed 4:30 Central European Time. I think we had a good session. We are together 1.5 hours, and I thought we had the opportunity to explain to you in the most comprehensive way what is the call and what is the program. We gave you the links which you could use to find more information. Again, those of you that you send us your coordinates, you register and you gave it consent, you have to communicate your data. You have also the possibility to ask to know who else is in the same category as you, and eventually build contacts between you in preparing proposals. And I think with that, we are now at the end of this info session, info day, and I would like to thank my colleague for the preparation of this info day, and especially Pierre, Rudy, and Enrique. And I would like to thank all of you for being here today and following the session and participating with your questions. I hope we receive good proposals and we have the opportunity to work together in whatever form. Thank you very much and have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.